does that even mean, Bowers Game Corner?
Oh, there, YouTube. I'm back again today for my top 20 games of all time. Second part of it. Last time I went over games number 20 through 11. Now I'll be going over number 10 through number 1. These are the best of all time, in my personal opinion. These are games that I will always love to play with you as long as I have the time to do it. Starting at number 10. Number 10 is Agricola. And in Agricola, you will be managing a farm and, feeding your family and chopping down trees and stuff like that. It really sounds pretty boring, but it is a fantastic, very tight, very awesome game. I do not own it, unfortunately, because it is incredibly expensive and I can't afford it. But it is an outstanding game. There's numerous different paths to victory, and there's big decisions. Like, there's a decision that you make and you're like, oh man, what do I take this turn? You might want this, you might want that, but if one of your opponents takes something, you can't take it, and then you're like, oh, now what do I do? And you constantly have to be changing your strategy on the fly, which is something I love about this game. Now, it's number 10. I don't know if it's going to stay at number 10. First and foremost, because I don't get to play it too much because I don't own it, but also because the sequel, Caverna, was recently released at Essen, and I heard it was absolutely outstanding. I can't wait to try it. But number 10 for right now is Agricola. Moving on to number 9. Number 9 is Werewolf. Werewolf. Now, this is another game that I kind of don't own. I have a copy, but I created the copy myself using construction paper and laminated it. If that doesn't tell you, this is an incredibly simplistic game. In Werewolf, you're going to have a village. It's going to be, as many people as you want. You can have, I think, from like 5 to 100 people. Now, I think a sweet spot is about 15 to 30. 15 to 30 to me is a good number. 10 is good. This is a very big social game. And what's going to happen is a certain number of people are going to be werewolves, and then everyone else is going to be normally a villager, or you might have a special ability. But what's going to happen is the villagers have to try and figure out who the werewolves are before the werewolves kill all the villagers, or kill more than half the villagers, I believe it is. But what makes this game really interesting is the social deduction, because every night one of the werewolves are going to pick one person to kill, and they'll kill them. They're out of the game. Pew! Player elimination. You're gone. So some people aren't going to like that. But you're completely out of the game, but then you're like, okay. And then you got to be like, oh man, who wanted this guy dead? And then during the day, people are going to be like, who wanted that guy dead? And they're going to lynch someone. They're going to try and lynch a werewolf. So they will vote to kill someone. You raise your hand, point at somebody, say, I think Charles over there is the werewolf. And you're going to try, and you get a majority, then that person is dead. And if they're not a werewolf, then you're like, ooh, crap. Because then it goes back to nighttime, and then the werewolf's going to kill somebody again. It's a fantastic game, a game that I really do enjoy. I see it being on my list for a very, very long time because I don't play it too often. I only play it at conventions. But when I do play Werewolf, I absolutely adore my number 9 game, Werewolf. Moving on to number 8. Number 8 is Cards Against Humanity. Now, I keep mine in this box. Why do I keep mine in this box? Well, first and foremost, I got a couple expansions, and also I have it sleeved. But if you don't know about Cards Against Humanity, it is pretty much an apples-to-apples ripoff with incredibly inappropriate things. So instead of, George Washington, you would have, what would Grandma find disturbing yet oddly charming? What's that smell? Santa's taint. A sad hand jump. Just ridiculous things on here. Now, this is a game that was higher on my list. However, as I've gotten older and more mature, it slowly but surely slid down my list. But whenever I get this game out, I have a lot of fun, I laugh a lot, and nearly everyone I'm with has a lot of fun, which is what gaming is all about, isn't it? My number 8 game is Cards Against Humanity, a game that I will always have a weird spot in my heart for. Moving on to number 7. Number 7 is another game I don't own, unfortunately. That is Small World. Now, I don't own Small World because, well, one of my good friends has a copy of Small World Underground. Another one guy in my gaming group has a copy of Small World. So there's always a Small World around if I want to play it. Now, I would love to have a copy, but again, it's one of the more expensive games. It's one of those games from Days of Wonder that costs like $50. But it is well worth the money. It is an outstanding, very, very light war game. And when you're playing it, you won't think you're playing a war game. You're thinking, oh, it's kind of war game, kind of area control game. Either way, it's outstanding. There's different races, different classes. You're always going to have different special abilities. And what really makes it awesome is you have different special abilities every game because you mix them up and match them up. So you're always going to have different numbers of people in your army and different people all over the map. It's a really great game that if you haven't checked it out before, you need to check it out. It's one of those games, it's not a gateway game, but once I've gotten you into gaming, that's one of those games I show you next because it is outstanding, it's a lot of fun, and it will hook a lot of people into the gaming hobby. Number 7 is Small World. Moving on to number 6. Number 6 is King of Tokyo. This game is one of my favorite games of all time. All the games in my top 6 are absolutely outstanding. I would play with you at any point. King of Tokyo probably gets the most play in my house right now, just because it's such a simple game to play. It's such a simple game to teach. It's in and out of the box in 30 minutes. Absolutely outstanding. And in King of Tokyo, you're going to take control of big monsters and beat the heck out of each other, or you can try and gain points. But the real heart of King of Tokyo is in the cards. The cards that you buy that have all these crazy special abilities that you can try and strategically use. King of Tokyo is a game that if you have not played it, you need to play it, period. It is outstanding. It is, in my opinion, one of the best gateway games of all time. Just because the theme is so accessible, it's just cool monsters, the components are outstanding, and the game is a lot of fun to play. Number 6 is King of Tokyo. So, number 6 is King of Tokyo. Moving on to number 5. Number 5 is a game that is not easily accessible. Number 5 is Mage Wars. Mage Wars, Mage Wars, Mage Wars. How I love to play you. Now, I'm in my top 5. All 5 of my top 5 are outstanding games, but they're all different games. This is a game that you have to have someone to play with you that knows how to play Mage Wars. This is like chess, where most of the time you don't want to play against somebody who doesn't know how to play that well. Because when you're teaching them, you have to take it easy. And if you're taking it easy, then you're not having as much fun as you can. In Mage Wars, you and your opponent are going to be taking control of mages and trying to kill each other in an arena. Sound like fun? Well, guess what? It is! The best part about this game is you get your own unique spellbook. Now, this isn't like Dominion or Magic where you have to wait for spells to come out. If you can afford to play a spell, you can play any spell in your spellbook pretty much whenever you want, which is really what I love about this, because you're going to have this huge spell book just bursting out of the seams with spells. You're rarely ever going to use all of them in one game, and it's just going to be punch, counterpunch, punch, counterpunch, and you always got to make sure that you got that one spell in your book that feel like, oh man, that's my ace in the hole. Oh, you think you got me? Well, guess what? Boom, teleport. Oh, you think you got me? Well, boom, get you out of here, dispatch. Oh gosh, I just love Mage Wars. I gush about Mage Wars. It's not going to be for everybody because it is very confrontational. It's going to take you 90 minutes to 2 hours to play. But if you can find someone else that is willing to build spell books with you, I don't know if there's a better game than Mage Wars. I mean, it's just, it's so much fun. Love Mage Wars. If you have not played it, go play it. It is outstanding. That's Mage Wars. That's my number 5 game. Moving on to number 4. And I will say, numbers 4 through 1, there are 3 games that you probably have played. Number 4 is Pandemic from Z-Man Games. Number 4, Pandemic. What can I say? I mean, this is the game that really got me into the hobby. I mean, I started off playing Risk when I was younger, and I loved Risk, but Pandemic was the one that just pulled me back into the hobby. Outstanding game about you and some other people trying to save the world by curing diseases. I played the 2nd expansion. It is also outstanding if you mix in some components. Have yet to play the 3rd expansion. I want to, but the problem is I have the old version of Pandemic. Curse you, Z-Man Games! But anywho, if you have not played Pandemic, you need to. It is a fantastic cooperative game. It is a fantastic gateway game. Now, it is on the trickier side. So this isn't one you're going to be doing gateway games for like 12 or 13-year-olds. But if you got adults, most likely they're going to have a lot of fun with Pandemic as long as you don't tell them what to do and just let them make their own mistakes, even if sometimes that does stink. Pandemic, my number 4 game, absolutely outstanding game. Number 3. This is a game that I love quite a bit. That is Dominion. Oh, I love you, Dominion. I love you a lot. I loved you when you came out. However, my love is dying just a little bit. This probably at one point was my number 1 game of all time. However, it slowly but surely has just fell down as other deck builders have kind of surpassed it. In Dominion, you will be, you know what, I'm not even going to pretend like there's a theme here. you're going to be trying to gain the most victory points by buying provinces. That's what you're doing in Dominion. But trust me, this game is a lot of fun because of the variety of cards. In this, I think there's 500 cards, and you're going to have boatloads of different opportunities. The thing I love about this game, just getting down to the nitty-gritty, is no two games are ever going to be alike. I could play this 1,000 times, and no two games are ever going to be alike. And if you get the expansions, and I've got one, I want to get more of them, they will never be alike. There's like 8 expansions. There's thousands of cards for this game. This is a game that I will always love to play, but, you know, I think it's just the lack of theme really gets me sometimes. But be that as it may, number 3 is still fantastic. Dominion, my number 3 game, a game that I will always love to play. Moving on, number 2. My number 2 game. The ultimate gateway game, in my opinion, Ticket to Ride. Ticket to Ride from Alan Moon, Days of Wonder. Days of Wonder, by the way, had 2 games on this list. They had Small World and they had this. Ticket to Ride, just for me, is the ultimate gateway game. I can play this with anybody ages 10 and up, and they're most likely going to have a lot of fun. Doesn't matter if you like trains, doesn't matter if you don't like trains. The theme is there. The theme is cool. You got the mini trains. The board looks great. I mean, it's America. But Ticket to Ride, I mean, it's such a tight, awesome game. I mean, and it's a lot of fun. I've never played Ticket to Ride and not had fun. 99.9% of the time when I get this game out, people have fun with this game. This is one of my fallback games. If we have 5 people and nobody can decide what to play, 4 people, they're like, I want some kind of on the shorter side. I always say, how about Ticket to Ride? And nobody's like, man, Ticket to Ride, get that. Ticket to Ride, outstanding game. I mean, there's a reason it's sold millions of copies. That's because it is absolutely fantastic. Won the Spiel des Jahres, won my heart over. My number 2 game of all time. It's going to be in the top 5, top 10 for probably a long, long time. That's Ticket to Ride. Number 1. Do a little drum roll. Number 1 is a game that I don't have, but it is huge, and that is Twilight Imperium 3rd Edition. So I hit you with the soft games. I hit the Pandemic, Dominion, Ticket to Ride, those nice little light games, and it's like, bam, 4 to 8 hours. Twilight Imperium, if you have not played it, is the best game of all time, in my personal opinion, because I think it transcends being a game into being an experience. Same with Battlestar Galactica. I think it's an experience. Battlestar Galactica was in my top 20 as well. Twilight Imperium is absolutely phenomenal, absolutely fantastic. If I could quit my job and find 4 or 5 people to play it with every single day, I would do that. It's that good. In Twilight Imperium, you will be trying to rule the galaxy. I mean, and it's that epic. There's politics, there's bribery, there's war, there's building stuff up, there's science trees. It's absolutely outstanding. The theme is just drenched, dripping off. It's got cool little minis. You're going to be moving around the galaxy, and the galaxy is huge. I mean, you're going to need a huge table to play it. Like, you couldn't play it on this table. You need a bigger table. Twilight Imperium 3rd Edition is a game that I think everyone should play if they are a gamer at least once. Even if it sounds terrible, contributing 4 to 8 hours of your time, I understand it is, but it is just such an experience that I don't think you'd regret it. It is absolutely outstanding. I wish I owned it. I really do, but it's, yet again, like an $80 game. So way too much above my price point. But my number 1 game of all time, and I don't know if anything's going to be able to top it, is Twilight Imperium 3rd Edition. This has been my top 10 or top 20 games of all time. Next year, hopefully, I'll be able to do my top 30. But if you like my list, if you didn't like my list, if you like the format, if you didn't like the format, or if you just want to curse at me, be sure to leave a comment below because I want to get more interactive with you guys. If you enjoyed this review, or if you enjoyed this list, please be sure to subscribe to my channel. Thanks for your time, YouTube.
That was part 2 of Bauer's Game Corner Top 20 Games of All Time. Be sure to check out the first half if you missed it, and for more reviews and previews, check back at Bauer's Game Corner.